Well, thank you very much. And Mr. Speaker, I'm not really sure where to begin. My friend across the aisle said that we would talk about H.R. 2, but that it didn't have the votes to pass. Well, I think we're in the same situation as the imaginary bill that he talks about, which never made it out of the Senate and wasn't a solution, it was a surrender. And if you need a definition of the Biden border crisis, let's talk about the over 8 million illegal migrants that have come over this border since Joe Biden has taken office. Let's talk about the over 1.3 million known gotaways that have come into this country that we don't know what they're doing, who they're talking to, or who they're associating with. Let's talk about the record number of illegal narcotics that has come across the southern border. Let's talk about the problems, the draining of resources that the migrant crisis, the Biden border crisis, is leaving on law enforcement across this country. And I'm not going to just focus on police departments back in New York. Let's start further away. Let's start and talk about sheriffs and deputies along the southern border who have said that the Biden border crisis has affected every single bit of industry in their state or county. Let's talk about sheriffs that, Mr. Speaker, we've visited who have said their jails are full to capacity. Why? Because of the Biden border crisis. So I'm not really sure what my good friend from New York across the aisle needs more explanation about the Biden border crisis, but I will tell you this. Law enforcement throughout this country has made it explicitly clear. They've made it explicitly clear that they need help, that they need communication, and that's exactly what this bill does. It's not a messaging bill. It requires the Justice Department to provide to law enforcement agencies information, intelligence, explain to them the issues that are plaguing this country that the migrants are affecting so that we, Congress, can provide the resources that these law enforcement agencies need. Now, this isn't just Republicans talking about this. The very city that my friend across the aisle represents, the mayor of the city of New York, Eric Adams, has said, quote, "The migrant crisis will destroy New York City." And I have to remind my friend across the aisle that the very department who provides him executive protection, the New York City Police Department, has said that they need more information, that communication between law enforcement agencies, whether it's Customs and Border Patrol, whether it's local agencies, whether it's other federal agencies, the communication would be better. So this is a step in the direction to make sure that law enforcement agencies throughout the country have the ability, have the information that they need to effectively protect and serve the communities they represent. You see, H.R. 2 was a great starting point. And over a year ago, House Republicans not only put H.R. 2 across the finish line in the Homeland Security Committee, but got it across the finish line on the floor of this House. It was voted against by Democrats. It was sent over to the Senate, where it has collected dust on Chuck Schumer's desk. It's collected dust, and in the process, the crisis at our southern border, Mr. Speaker, the Biden border crisis, has gotten worse. It's affected more people. People have died because of the failed policies of Joe Biden and Secretary Mayorkas. And the fact that we have our colleagues on the other side of the aisle saying that this is about messaging, well, Mr. Speaker, I wonder if they would deliver that same message to the family and loved ones of victims who have fallen prey to the Biden border crisis. You see, Mr. Speaker, when we are back home in our districts, we ensure our constituents, they need to know that we are committed, dedicated to fact-finding and well-researched policy. You see, the other side of the aisle, they can't support this simply because they're trying to deny that there's even a crisis. The fact that we're wondering what the definition of the Biden border crisis is actually scary. It's either they're not paying attention, they're not reading the newspapers, they're not focused on the facts, or they just don't care. But what I will tell you is there is a crisis. And the crisis has gotten worse because of Joe Biden. We've seen migrants in some of videos that have gone viral on social media. As a matter of fact, 2 of the victims of some of these crimes were my guests right here at the State of the Union, when 2 members of the NYPD were brutally attacked in Midtown Manhattan by illegal migrants. We know for a fact that migrants smuggle narcotics into this country. We know for a fact that illegal migrants have been arrested for brutal crimes and for making communities less safe. We know for a fact that illegal migrants have been parts of burglary rings, not just in sanctuary cities, but in places that surround them, like home on Long Island. So you see, this is a crisis. It is the Biden border crisis. And this piece of legislation is common sense. It's about making sure that we provide the necessary information, communication, and resources to law enforcement agencies throughout this country so that they can continue to do the best with what they have. They continue to do the best with the hurdles that are in front of them. That they continue to do the best because they are facing, just like all of us, the historic disaster at our southern border that is the Biden border crisis. I yield back.